self-protection. This video has been designed to give you a tutorial about how to make a fist correctly, how to punch correctly, and what knuckles you should use when making impact with either your attacker for self-defense purposes or destruction boards for sporting purposes. So we're going to look at and discuss these methods that can be used. Before I begin, I just want to mention that different instructors have different viewpoints about how you should punch, what knuckles you should use, and how the fist should be correctly aligned. I'm just giving you my own experience, knowledge of what I believe to work most effectively for me and my viewers. Yeah, so you can take away this information and use it how you want to. Yeah, so different instructors have different opinions. Okay, so number one, how do you make a fist first of all? If you place your hand like so, with your palm facing outwards, to make a fist correctly, you need to curl your fingers in once, again, and then the thumb is tucked below underneath your fingers like so, yeah? So what you don't want to do is bring your thumb into the center and then clench and then try and punch like this, because you'll break your thumb and you could break your fingers and carpals, yeah? So when you make a fist correctly, fingers curl in once, again, and then the thumb is tucked below these fingers here, away from any impact that the actual fist or knuckles are making with either the attacker or the boards for sporting purposes, yeah? So that is how to make a fist. There are two variations of how you strike with the knuckle structure of the fist. So we're going to look at variation one first of all. Some instructors will tell you to strike with the first two top knuckles in line with the strongest part of the forearm. With this method, to make the forearm correctly aligned with the fist, you need to keep your forearm and hand straight, curl your wrist slightly forwards, and then tilt your fist slightly to the left, so that these two top knuckles actually become in line with the forearm and wrist bone, yeah? If you do this, yeah, and place pressure of your hand on these two top knuckles here, look what happens. The wrist and carpal bone goes down, it bends, yeah? So when you're striking with these two top knuckles, with this variation, what you need to do, tense, curl forwards, and then bend your fist slightly forward, so these first two top knuckles make impact in line with the strongest part of the forearm, yeah? I've always believed if you're breaking boards, whether it's pine wood, reformatable boards, tiles or breeze blocks or whatever, that you strike with the front part of the two top knuckles. The reason being is because these two knuckles, mainly the index knuckle and then the second knuckle, are larger in bone structure than these two knuckles here. As you can see, it's a large knuckle, a slightly smaller knuckle, a slightly smaller knuckle, then a smaller knuckle. If you try and break boards or tiles or bricks with these two to three knuckles here, given the fact that they're smaller in bone structure and you're striking against a robust solid material, you could break your knuckles and could break your wrist bone. So just be aware of that. So I always advise, if you're breaking boards, is to strike with these first two top knuckles in line with the strongest part of the forearm, as long as you tilt your wrist forwards and to the left slightly, so that these two knuckles make impact. Variation two, we go back to the concept of bringing your hand into this position, yeah, and then using your other hand like so. If you push and tilt your fist, what happens is your hand and wrist bends slightly, yeah, as you can see. In addition, if you place your hand in this position and then draw your thumb and finger across your forearm here, if you go up towards your wrist to your knuckle structure, what happens is your finger goes to the third knuckle here, and your thumb goes to the last knuckle here. And as you can see, what happens naturally is that these three knuckles here, 1, 2, 3, are actually naturally in line with the strongest part of the forearm. Yeah, as you can see, the radius, the ulna, your carpal bone is naturally supportive of the three knuckles here, and so is your forearm. Yeah, so that's the difference between striking like this, because this, if you strike with the first two top knuckles, if you don't bend your wrist correctly and hand into the right position, it bends. See, yeah. So what happens naturally is that these three knuckles here are actually naturally in line with this part of the forearm here. So if you're striking for self-defense purposes, I always advise to strike with these three knuckles because they're naturally in line with the strongest part of the forearm. Yeah, so when you're striking these three knuckles in towards the attacker or the body of the attacker. You can also strike with these two top knuckles, yeah, as well in towards the attacker. You must be aware, if you strike and make contact only with your index knuckle, which is the first knuckle here, you'll break your knuckle, yeah. And in addition, if you don't bend the wrist correctly in lines with these first two top knuckles, you could break both knuckles and also your wrist and carpal bone and so on, yeah. So there's two variations. Variation one is to actually strike with the first two top knuckles and make it in line naturally with the forearm. Or variation two is that to strike with these three knuckles, which is automatically in line with your forearm, yeah? So like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, different instructors, different styles will teach you different things about how to punch and make a fist correctly. I'm just giving you some self-awareness and some sports science and my own knowledge of training just to give you some hindsight into different methods of punching and what knuckles to use when you're striking for both self-defense, street purposes and sports purposes. So please do like, share, comment in this video. Please subscribe to our channel. I hope you enjoyed this and you can take away something useful from it. Thanks for watching. We are Eclectic Self-Protection, Self-Defense Systems UK, and we'll see you next time.